What's going on, guys? I'm Brett. This is Overlanders HQ Adventures. Today we're talking 12-volt systems. Some of you may be asking, what the heck is a 12-volt system? So today we're going to cover what a 12-volt system is, why a 12-volt system might be right for you, and some of the basics on how to install a 12-volt system in your own rig. So let's start with what an auxiliary 12-volt system is. What an auxiliary 12-volt system is, at its basics, is just an additional battery added to your vehicle that you can charge from your vehicle. So why would you want an auxiliary 12-volt battery system? Well, if you're looking to run camp lights, fridge, freezer, and charge some basic electronics, a 12-volt system might be right for you. We have found that in our usage, that running a fridge, freezer, and charging all of our devices, that we're using more power than our starter battery can reliably provide overnight. So in overlanding, a 12-volt system can be very handy to extend your stays and allow you to use your fridge, freezer, and camp longer and more comfortably without having to bring ice and go back and recharge your battery. So now that we've identified that, hey, we have a need for a 12-volt system, what are all the parts and components needed to put a system together? One of the first things that you're going to need for a 12-volt system is to figure out what kind of battery you want to go with. There are multiple options that you can go with. You have your classic lead-acid battery, an AGM battery, or a lithium battery. So there's pros and cons to each type of battery. A lead-acid battery is the oldest and most common type of battery out there. That's what's going to be found as your starter battery in your vehicle already. These batteries work great at pumping out a lot of energy for a short period of time, for example, to run your starter. And then that battery gets recharged and it's ready to go again. These batteries aren't great as deep cycle batteries or providing a lot of power or a small amount of power over a prolonged period of time. So an AGM battery is going to do a little bit better than a lead acid battery. A lead acid battery can only be discharged 50% of its power before it needs to be recharged. An AGM battery gets you a little bit better capacity at about 80%. You're allowed to discharge about 80% of your power on an AGM battery before it needs to be recharged. A lithium battery allows you to discharge pretty close to 100% of its capacity. So when I'm talking about on lead acid, AGM, or lithium battery, the capacity and the discharge capacity, what I'm referring to is, for example, let's say we have a 100 amp hour battery. So if we have a lead acid battery, that would allow us to discharge about 50 amps of power before that battery would need to be recharged. An AGM battery would allow you to discharge 80% of that 100 amps, so about 80 amps, quite a bit more power than a lead acid. And a lithium battery, close to 100%, close to that full 100 amps of power. The big differences in those types of batteries is going to be price. The lead acid batteries are going to be the heaviest and they're going to be the least expensive. So an AGM battery is going to be a little bit lighter for the same footprint size, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive. A lithium battery is going to be the absolute lightest battery and the absolute most expensive, but the most power capacity. In our build, we decided to go with a lithium battery just because the longevity, charge cycles, and weight. What battery is going to be right for you is going to depend on your budget and how many days you're looking to run all your devices without being recharged. Now that we have the type of battery figured out that we're going to use, we need to figure out the type of charger we're going to use to charge that battery. A lead acid or an AGM battery, a battery isolator is all that you need. Those charge at a high rate of amps, so you're going to recharge that battery quickly, but that's all it's going to do. It's not going to be a smart charger or give you the smart charging capabilities of a full DC to DC charger. We chose to go with a RedArc DC to DC charger because this also has the ability for solar input. This is a nice feature to be able to add solar panels while you're camping and recharge your batteries without having to start your vehicle. Since we decided to go with a lithium battery, highly recommend going with a DC to DC charger. Smart battery disconnect isn't the right application for a lithium battery. We have our battery picked out and we figured out how we're going to charge that battery. How you attach devices to your auxiliary battery is going to differ for your application. If you have a CPAP machine, it may connect directly to the battery, or you may need to add an inverter, which is going to convert DC power to AC power. We needed to add an inverter in our application to enable the use of charging our chainsaw batteries. We chose to go with a 2500 watt inverter from Cobra, which is probably a little overkill in this application, but for the price it worked out just fine. We have a 12 volt fuse box from Blue Sea. This is how we're going to connect all of our devices like our GMRS radio, our fridge freezer, and any auxiliary camping lights that we're going to want to run. Again, connecting all these devices through our auxiliary battery allows us to run them without running down our starter battery. We got a smart load disconnect from RedArc, and what that does is keeps the battery from being discharged 100% completely, because if the battery was discharged 100%, it would not be able to be recognized by the charger in order to be charged back up. So now there's a few other bits and pieces that you're going to need. You're going to need a few different types of fuses to put everything together, and you're also going to need a couple terminal blocks to be able to run all your devices off of. We chose to go with a battery monitor system, so that way we can check the status of charge and how much power is currently being used from our auxiliary system. This is a great tool to see how much power you're currently being used or how much power you've used since the last time you charged your batteries. So one of the important things to think about when you're wiring your 12 volt system is to look at how many amps of draw you're going to have on that device, and then make sure you have the correct wire gauge size for that draw. You don't want to have too small of a wire with a large draw, because that can create heat in the wire and possibly cause a fire. If wiring a 12 volt system isn't something you're comfortable with, make sure you have your system installed by a professional.